Now let's journey back to the era of the Vietnam War. Most historians would tell you that the Vietnam War can be traced back to the 1950s. However, the seeds of this conflict were sown during the French colonial era in the 1800s in Southeast Asia. Over a time, a web of nations, which included the United States, France, China, the Soviet Union, and more, all found themselves drawn into this prolonged struggle. The war's lengthy saga eventually draws to a close in 1975, culminating in the reunification of North and South Vietnam into one single nation. This timeline of the Vietnam War offers a window into the intricate web of political and military complexities that mark the era, a period that tragically claimed countless lives. Join us as we go on a visual exploration of captivating images from the pages of Vietnam War history. Number 30. A seldom-seen photograph captures the U.S. corpsman shouldering the responsibility of a wounded child amidst the turmoil of battle. This rare moment shines a light on the power of human compassion and the inherent dignity that lies within every individual. The child, discovered wandering between the North Vietnamese and American firing lines on the previous night, had bore the tragic weight of likely having lost their parents in the chaos. Within a bunker's confines, illuminated by the soft glow of candlelight, Marines, known for their unyielding toughness, transformed into nurturing caregivers. Their gentleness enveloped the child as they tenderly tended to his injuries and cleaned him up. It was a profound and almost spiritual sight, an extraordinary display of compassion that etched itself into everyone's memory. Number 29. Have you ever wondered what could these young fighters possibly have been up to? It may sound crazy, but imagine these three children holding grenades, all set to take on an army. Yes, you read that right. Those grenades and their soldier-like outfits will give you a clue about their mission. Their determined expressions reveal their readiness to protect their land. Number 28. In this intricate tableau, a web of questions arise. What exactly is the adversary in this scene? Is it the soldier, turned away and facing a Vietnamese woman holding a baby while a half-naked boy stands nearby? Or could it be the young woman and her two children, seemingly being confronted by an American GI? As in many situations, there are always two sides to the story, much like a coin with its distinct facets. Number 27. This photograph in question perfectly captures the allure and the corrosive effects of consumerism on the unsuspecting civilians of Vietnam. Number 26. This photograph encapsulates the haunting presence of a young American GI seeking refuge beneath a poncho during a monsoon downpour in the jungles near Da Nang while on patrol in 1972. A look into the soldier's eyes tells a story that words alone cannot convey, a narrative of probable hellish experiences etched upon his countenance, indeed, a moment to pin onto our walls. Number 25. This picture reveals a U.S. soldier helping captives despite the circumstance. The soldiers displayed remarkable empathy towards the civilians caught in the crossfire. Among them, a compassionate medic forges a bond with his captives, offering friendship and solace. The closing image of the photographic narrative captures a touching moment, the medic and child hand in hand walking away. However, that child's head also bears the scars of napalm burns, revealing a grim truth about the war. This was the moment when the American populace would be confronted with a stark reality of the use of napalm, the impact profound, and many would write letters expressing gratitude for unveiling the unfiltered truth. Number 24. Back in the days before photographers would be embedded in military units, they enjoyed a special kind of freedom. They had the ability to head straight to the heart of the story that they wanted to capture. This was particularly true in Vietnam during the 1970s, with the primary challenge being simply finding a means of transportation. However, almost up until the conclusion of the war, if a helicopter or a truck had an empty seat, it was likely that they would offer it to a photographer. Photographers would often find themselves embedding within platoons or squads, although this arrangement was not an official policy. It was more of an unwritten understanding based on the notion that photographers were present to narrate the soldiers' experiences. The soldiers, on the other hand, also recognized that photographers were there out of choice and not out of obligation. One morning towards the conclusion of the unsuccessful Laos invasion in early 1971, an attempt to disrupt the Ho Chi Minh Trail. A group of young soldiers fixing tanks and track vehicles would catch their attention. These vehicles were regularly targeted by North Vietnamese forces, and in a moment characteristic of dusty heat, a soldier and the photographer exchanged casual pleasantries. After reading a letter from home, that soldier returned to work, while the photographer continued to another unit. Yet for that brief fraction of a moment, that soldier's face and posture conveyed a mixture of exhaustion and hopelessness. It was a snapshot of a young soldier questioning his purpose in a distant land far away from home. Number 23. It was a fortunate moment capturing the essence of something truly special for Americans, the joyous reunion and the family coming together. This visual is remarkable as it's marked the end of the war. There was a sense of relief that it was finally over. The picture captures happiness and joy from the families and the returnee soldiers. Number 22. This picture displays a powerful scene. Over on the other side of a barbed wire fence, a bunch of soldiers holding an American flag are giving a salute. It's like a heartfelt tribute to their country and their duty. This incredible moment would be captured in a photograph that's now part of the Vietnam Slide Project, thanks to the kind family of a U.S. Army veteran named James Townsend. James Townsend was a brave soul who had served in Vietnam until 1969, and now through this touching picture, his family shares a glimpse of his experiences and his dedication. Number 21. This is a pretty unusual picture to come across that shows a chill and almost upbeat side of the Vietnam War. Here, the photo captures a bunch of guys and even a dog in a moment of peace during the conflict. The soldiers appear to be having a good time and also seem to be in high spirits. Number 20. This photo shows a soldier shielding his face while strolling off of an airstrip in Vietnam. And you won't believe this, the United States Air Force played a massive part in the war, especially during President Johnson's Rolling Thunder mission. This was all about super coordinated bombing strikes on North Vietnam to shake up their important stuff and make things tough for them. Number 19. American soldiers faced a pretty tough situation during the Vietnam War. They weren't familiar with the land like their enemy was, and that would put them at a big disadvantage. And because of this, the United States troops had a hard time figuring out who they could really trust. This made them vulnerable to sneak attacks by the Viet Cong, who were the masters at setting up ambushes. Imagine these soldiers moving through unfamiliar terrain, always on guard, and not knowing when danger might jump out at them. It's as though they were walking on thin ice at all times, facing challenges from every side. Number 18. This image shows a couple of soldiers, relaxed and happy. It's like they're having a miniature party in their bunkers, taking a break while they wait for their next orders on the battlefront. Can you imagine the scene? Soldiers who are usually deep in the action, now enjoying a small breather, sharing stories and laughter. It's like a moment of camaraderie and togetherness. Number 17. This is one of the awesome members of the American Soldier Infantry, and they are the real deal. They're the ones who are right there on the front line facing the challenges head on. But guess what? Even heroes need a break. This is a soldier taking a moment during downtime to do something super important, resting up and getting his strength back. Right before another battle begins, it's as though he's recharging his energy, getting ready to draw another line in the sand. Number 16. Vietnam was no walk in the park. The place had crazy terrain, like watery paths and super thick jungles, but imagine these United States soldiers, tough as nails, trying to get around in this wild environment that they were not used to. This photo captures a slice of that intense journey. Dennis Thornton and his camera skills snapped a picture that is now part of the Vietnam Slide Project. In the photo, you can see some armed soldiers marching through a super muddy river. They're right there in the thick of it, wading through all of that muck. Number 15. This soldier is strumming his guitar and taking a chill break at camp. In the Vietnam War, music was like magic for these soldiers. It wasn't only something in the background, it was as though it was their secret weapon keeping their spirits high. One Vietnam veteran by the name of Doug Bradley would put it perfectly. Music was more than just a tune for us. It was like our lifeline, a bridge to the world beyond, connecting us to the stuff that helped us keep going. Just like the song says, keep on pushing. Now imagine the soldier in this picture plucking away at those guitar strings, perhaps even singing a tune that made everyone forget about the tough times even for a moment. It's a snapshot of how something as simple as music can bring so much joy and hope. Number 14. Remember the saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy? Well, even these United States soldiers knew that too much serious stuff was not good for anyone. So in this awesome picture, the soldiers are all about business, but they're also taking some well-deserved time to rest and relax while engaging in a friendly game of basketball. They take a break from all of the hot action right there at their unit's base camp and set up a court, having a blast shooting hoops and competing. It's an absolutely rare picture. Number 13. In a super cool and rare photo, a bunch of soldiers have come together to form a band right at base camp in Cambodia. It's as though they're putting on a show for everyone around. This amazing moment was captured by Gary C. Houston, who happened to be an artillery forward observer in the 1st Cavalry. Number 12. A soldier, curious and cautious, peeks out from a bunker that's been cleverly carved into the jungle floor, but there is a twist. This bunker is not your ordinary hole in the ground. It's camouflaged with layers of bamboo, blending seamlessly with the lush surroundings. But here's the scoop. The sneaky Viet Cong were masters of surprise attacks, and sometimes they even teamed up with local villagers to catch the soldiers off guard. Can you imagine the soldiers' dilemma? Always on edge, never knowing when danger might strike. Number 11. It's 1969, and there's a military helicopter doing a hover over James Townsend's army camp, and here's why that's such a big deal. The terrain out there was seriously tough. It's not as though you could simply drive a truck or a tank everywhere you wanted to. The land had its own ideas. And so what did they do? When it came to getting medical assistance to people or delivering supplies, these awesome helicopters became the hero of the hour. They would swoop in like real-life superheroes, making sure that everyone had what they needed. And here's the kicker. When it came to fighting, the airplanes were the go-to of choice. They would zip through the skies helping out in the heat of battle, and they had to take a bit of a back seat because the rugged landscape was not too friendly to them. Number 10. This picture showcases a dog in Vietnam. Their furry friend hitched a ride with the American forces, and during the Vietnam War, there was a group called the Sentry Dog Company. They teamed up with thousands of these smart dogs with their human buddies and sent them right into the throes of action. Their mission was to help out by keeping an eye on things and make sure there were no sneaky enemies who could get through. These dogs were like the security guards of the base, making sure that everything was safe and sound. They were so good that they could even detect an ambush before it occurred. The picture of this clever dog would be taken in 1970. Number 9. This picture, captured in 1966, showcases some soldiers on the USS Constellation aircraft carrier. It seems as though they have a rare afternoon off where they're enjoying some rest and relaxation. They're not lazing around though, they're having a picnic right there on the flight deck, and they're even taking a dip in the Gulf of Tonkin, like they're having their very own pool party. These servicemen usually have it pretty tough, working 7 days a week, doing all kinds of important things, so this break was like a breath of fresh air and a chance to slow down and unwind. Number 8. In a small village, a Vietnamese person casually rides their bike. But here's something interesting. The American troops, who thought that they would be embraced with open arms in this war-torn land, would often find themselves in a bit of a pickle. Some of the local villagers did not care too much for them, and sometimes there was even tension. Imagine these brave U.S. soldiers expecting a warm welcome, but things did not always go as planned. It became a reality check, because not everyone saw them as heroes who were swooping in to save the day. This photo captures a slice of that complex relationship between troops and people living in these villages. It's as though it's a peek into the real-life situations they encountered, showing that even in the midst of war, things can be a bit more complicated than they may seem. Number 7. This photo was taken during Operation Oregon. Now that's a fancy name for a search and destroy party, but picture this. A bunch of tough soldiers from Troop B, 1st Reconnaissance Squadron, 9th Cavalry, 1st Cavalry Division, were out on a very special mission. One of these brave infantrymen is being lowered into a tunnel by his fellow soldiers from the reconnaissance platoon. It's like a moment frozen in time, giving us a glimpse of what it was like right there at the front lines of battle. They were literally digging deep to uncover any kind of hidden secrets. And you know what else is cool? This is not your everyday kind of photo. It's pretty rare and captures the true essence of the men who were right there in the thick of it all. It's like a peek into their world, showing us the gritty and intense side of war. Number 6. American soldiers, amidst all the action and intensity of war, are taking a break to enjoy a well-deserved day at the beach in South Vietnam. These brave troops decided to swap their battle gear for swimsuits and have themselves a blast. They splashed around in the refreshing waters of the South China Sea and kicked back on the soft sandy shores. Now, you may be thinking, is this the same war that went on for years? Well, you'd be absolutely right. It's a bit surprising, but here's the thing. Even the toughest of fighters need a breather and a break from time to time. These men who had faced the challenges head-on embraced this moment of enjoyment as though it were a little slice of relaxation in the midst of chaos. It all just goes to show you that underneath all of that military gear, these soldiers are still regular people with the same desires for fun and a good time. Who can resist the call of the ocean and the chance to bask in the sun? Number 5. Imagine this. It's 1965 and there's something truly heartwarming taking place on a military base. You have these talented actresses from the musical Hello, Dolly who sing and dance on stage, and they're not only performing in a fancy theater, they're right there on the military base, surrounded by troops, entertaining brave soldiers who are in the thick of it all, and even patients from the military hospital. These amazing performers put on a show, belting out tunes and dancing their hearts out right there in the midst of all the action. And the soldiers are simply beaming. Simply imagine it. These men who have been carrying the weight of the war on their shoulders finally getting a chance to let loose and enjoy some entertainment. You can practically feel the collective sigh of relief, like a breath of fresh air sweeping through the camp. For a small time, their minds are taken away from the harsh realities of war, and they're transported into a world of music, laughter, and pure joy. This photo, frozen in time, captures a unique moment, like a glimpse into the beginning of a turning point when things might have begun to shift. Number 4. You know, whether it's war or not, a soldier is still a person with needs just like the rest of us. So can you imagine, even in the midst of all that chaos, that they have their own natural cravings? Take a look at this snapshot captured in 1971. It features a soldier stepping out of his base's kitchen tent, and get this, he's caught red-handed licking a spoon. Who can blame him though? Food is food, no matter where you are. These base camps have their own kitchens, just like your regular old cooking spot at home. But here's the cool part. A lot of the food that we munch on today, like those cheesy Cheetos or handy energy bars, actually began as rations for soldiers who were out patrolling in the field. These soldiers needed food that would stay tasty and fresh for a long time, and so the genius minds would come up with snacks that could hang on to their yumminess even when they're far away from the comforts of a proper kitchen. Number 3. It's 1969 and we're near the Michelin Plantation, which happens to be the biggest rubber plantation in all of Vietnam. Imagine 2 paratroopers, those soldiers who jump from planes with parachutes, chilling out on the roof of their jungle bunker. They're lounging around as though they're having a casual hangout session. These clever soldiers have actually set up a little escape hatch on top of their bunker, like a secret trapdoor that they can pop into if things become too intense, just in case there's a sudden bomb threat or some action that's taking place nearby. And so there they are, the young warriors taking a breather on their makeshift rooftop lounge with a lookout hole that's ready to go. It's like a snapshot of their life in the midst of all of the jungle and rubber plantations, giving everyone a peek into the kind of quick thinking these soldiers had to do. Number 2. This is a snapshot from the past, showing a bunch of young GIs chilling out in their bunks, puffing on some marijuana. They look relaxed, even though there's a big plan brewing between the US and South Vietnam to put an end to soldiers using drugs. The guys are being a bit rebellious, going against the rules, and they seem to have found a bit of happiness and fun in their stash. This cool picture would be taken in 1971, right smack in the middle of an intense Vietnam War. It's like a glimpse into a moment that's frozen in time, showcasing these soldiers in the midst of all the chaos, just trying to unwind and find some peace in their very own way. And can you even imagine what it must have been like for them? Despite the serious situation going on around them, they had managed to create a small bubble of relaxation and enjoyment. Number 1. American soldiers, right in the midst of the Vietnam War, are huddled together around a table that's full of delicious food. However, this wasn't just any meal, it was a lively celebration of the Vietnamese New Year. The soldiers knew how to keep their spirits high, even in the challenging times of war, and they didn't let the chaos around them dim the brightness of culture and special occasions. Picture the scene. You have these brave soldiers sharing laughter and stories side by side with some locals from Vietnam. They're all coming together to celebrate the new year in true Vietnamese style. The table is decked out with scrumptious treats, and you can practically feel the festive atmosphere radiating from the photo. This picture would be captured in 1965, and in the end, the Vietnam War was like no other. It was the first time the battle came right into people's living rooms through television and newspapers, and every day people could watch and read about the action. The reporters and camera crews worked harder than ever, making sure that everyone knew what was going on and that every detail was recorded. Even the military photographers were in on the action, snapping thousands of photos that showed every side of the fight. Which of these cool and historical moments and pictures grabbed your interest the most and made you curious for more? Let me know about it in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like it in the future, and I'll see you next time.